One of my biggest worries when we were planning our big European adventure is what would happen if things didn't go according to what we had planned.
Of course, on this trip, we were supposed to dock in Amsterdam, but the weather, well, she had other plans. We got lots and lots of rain, a storm, and just like that, our plans for Amsterdam were gone.
And hearts were broken.
And we suddenly had unexpected time on our hands. We had a couple days before our next stop.
We were waiting to get to the next port, so what did we do? Well, we took
We
naps,
we relaxed,
we watched movies. We always take some sort of travel games and word searches and Mad Libs and things like that. So we just made the best of our time, and
we passed the time until we finally arrived in Copenhagen.
we did. And from the moment we arrived in Copenhagen, what could we hear? Rain.
And while missing Amsterdam was disappointing,
It was.
we were still pretty excited to explore Copenhagen.
We were. I looked out, and my first thought was, I don't think I should get off of this ship because I have a scooter, and that's a lot of rain. And scooters and rain are not friends.
And we wanted to make the most of the trip, and we had planned this excursion.
It was a guided tour, one on one, with a lovely girl by the name of Teresa. And she helped us out by going inside of the coffee shop and asking the shopkeeper if they would be willing to give her some trash bags. She comes around the corner and then helps us to get the trash bags all over the tiller, the floor of the scooter, all over me, on the seat.
So I think it's safe to say that the weather still had something to say about our plans. You're thinking maybe we should cancel, but we can't because she was waiting for us
She had given up a day,
and we had paid for it.
but it's raining. And I will give a shout out to Disney Cruise Line here. As we were going down the gangway, they had boxes of ponchos. I am so thankful, even 6 months later, that we took a couple of those ponchos that morning.
Yes, and we absolutely, it rained the entire day.
Never stopped.
I wasn't driving the scooter, you were.
Yeah.
So how was it having to deal with the rain in your scooter on those streets?
Well, first of all, you know that I'm extremely susceptible to getting really cold really fast. And that one of the things that I hate most in the world is wet clothing. From the moment we went down the gangway with the scooter, there was a lot of fear, a lot of apprehension, and a lot of hesitation that morning because I was afraid I was just going to go careening down that thing and straight into the water. Also, the other thing that I had to worry about was the battery for the scooter because the battery for my scooter is on the deck, so I had to keep it covered with my feet. But not only had Disney been generous to supply rain ponchos, they also supplied racks and racks of towels. And you will be able to see in some points, I have my feet on top of a white towel. Underneath that towel was the battery for my scooter. And so it was really, really important that I tried to keep that scooter battery from getting wet.
We were a long way from home, and
Hmm.
if something happened to our scooter,
I had no way to get around.
that was the end of our trip.
Yeah, we would just have stayed on board and missed all the other things.
So would you say that navigating those wet streets was a challenge?
It was because the pavement types changed. Like we went from bricks to concrete to cobblestones or sets, as some people might want them to be called. We're in an unfamiliar environment. There's lots and lots of bicycles, and they're zip zapping in and out, coming from behind cars and behind buildings. And you've got all of that stuff going on, but you've also got to really be paying attention to the streets as they change and looking for curb cuts and where are there holes in the pavement and things like that. So there was a lot going on both externally and internally.
And not only that, but I felt like we couldn't go as fast as we normally would have.
No, no, because there was that one time when the pavement changed right near the gift shop and we didn't realize that the pavement had changed. And next thing you know, the scooter is sliding, almost sliding into the bicycle. And I almost crashed into a souvenir shop in Copenhagen,
Right,
Denmark,
right into the window.
right into the window. Thankfully, you were there to kind of help grab it and stop it, but she was sliding all over the place.
So it's safe to say that whenever we have an excursion that goes bad, the one thing that we have to do is we have to pivot and we have to be flexible.
Flexible, but and we also have to have our sense of humor turned on, because even now I look at the photos and the videos and it was a craptastic day, but it's funny when I think back and look at how we covered me and draped that scooter with everything that we could find to protect it, just so we could have that one day experience in Copenhagen, Denmark.
And I'd say that travel rarely goes the way we imagined it would.
For us, it hardly ever
It
does.
hardly ever does. And this was no exception.
But we continue to do it.
And we do. And we continue to go new places. So, what do you think we learned off this trip beyond flexibility?
If you are in a country where you don't speak the language, either learn part of the language, have like a guidebook, or hire someone who speaks that language. Your excursions may not go perfectly, but have a backup plan.
And have your sense of
Have
humor.
your sense of humor, pack it 2 or 3 times. And just remember that if you do have a mobility scooter, that you have to protect your scooter. That morning we used ponchos, trash bags, bath towels. My shoes that I was wearing that day, it took them 5 days to dry out. And since we came home, I have now bought a scooter cover that I could still drive the scooter, but basically be under a tarp. And always pack a rain jacket and an umbrella and your rain shoes, because we checked the weather multiple times before we left, and not one place where we were going to be was supposed to have had cold weather, rainy weather. It was supposed to be nothing but sunshine and roses, and well, that wasn't the case.
Now, one thing when you do prepare for these excursions, it's always a good idea to have some cruise insurance or an excursion insurance plan. We did miss Amsterdam, but in the end, it didn't cost us anything because the insurance kicked in and we were able to get our money back.
And that's not the cruise insurance, that was the third party insurance that we bought that covered the excursions, because our excursions weren't through Disney.
They were not.
Disney didn't have what I needed. They didn't have transportation or any of those things.
And that's a whole nother video.
That's a whole other bucket of nuts. But
Just remember, insurance in these situations is helpful.
cruise insurance and excursion insurance.
The important thing, though, is that even when your excursion or your adventure goes wrong, the experience can still be meaningful.
It was beautiful.
We still got value out of
Mhm.
that excursion.
It was a beautiful city. We got to see a part of the world we had never seen before. We got to meet a really sweet person that gave us the history of her city, and she shared her day with us. And so those experiences were meaningful.
And they mattered.
They did, and they still do.
So keep this in mind. Even when the plan changes, the adventure doesn't have to stop.
No, and it did not stop with Copenhagen, that is for sure.
No, it did not. Because for us, life rolls on.
Life does. It has to.
Right. So if you want to see more of our adventures as we roll through Europe, watch this video next and see how we keep rolling on, because life rolls on.
Bye.
Bye.